This move looks like magic when it's done right. The only problem is doing it right. Today we're going to end your side hop struggles once and for all. There are likely 3 different things that you could be doing wrong, and today I'm going to help you fix all 3 of them. Let's begin with a quick refresher on the side hop movement. You'll balance in place, crouching down while your pedals rotate back. This part's called the preload. Then your body will explode upward while you push down on the pedals. As your front wheel reaches its peak height, you'll push it forward in front of you, which helps your back wheel come up. Take a deep breath. That's a lot to do in one split second. We're gonna break this whole thing down, eliminate the scary stuff, and get you locked in on what actually matters when it comes to the side hop. The one thing that's gonna help your side hop technique more than anything else is having a good command of the pedal kick. If you don't have this technique locked in, there's a link down in the description below. You should definitely go back and get your pedal kicks locked because the side hop is built on top of the pedal kick movement. Now, if you're able to do pedal kicks, that means that you have 2 things really locked in which are gonna help you out. Number 1, you're capable of giving your bike power. And number 2, you're great at staying out of the way so that the bike can get the power. So a lot of people, when they're learning pedal kicks specifically, they'll be too far forward on the bike and they'll be pushing down and the bike won't be doing anything because their center of gravity is way up in the front of the bike, and that's not gonna help you with side hops either. So when you really learn how to do pedal kicks, your body is usually back here so that the bike can jump out in front of you when you put power on the pedals. So again, lock in that pedal kick technique because that's really gonna help you give the bike power, and the side hop is most certainly a power move. Now for the best part. You don't actually need an obstacle to start learning how to side hop. So many people get hung up on the side part of side hop, when if you look at the skill itself, most of it is jumping up, not over. And that's where we're gonna start today. We're gonna start with the up, the hop of side hop, and we're gonna build off of that. Once you've got the hop part locked in, the sideways part isn't actually that complicated. It's just that when people try to learn both of them together, they get really messed up and they lose their confidence because they don't have both of them locked in. So we're gonna remove as many obstacles as possible. We're just gonna build confidence to begin by going up. So clear out a space. You don't need any obstacles at all. That's where we're gonna start on your side hop. I'll do today's tutorial on my Street Trials bike, and the reason for that is that we're gonna learn this on 2 wheels. That's the place where you're gonna have the most balance, the most stability, and it's the easiest way to learn everything that we're working through. You can do all of this on the back wheel. It's a little bit more advanced and you have to worry about your back wheel balance on top of everything else. But just to get the ball rolling, especially if you're struggling with side hops, let's start from 2 wheels and then we can build from there. I said in the beginning of this video that there are 3 things that could be going wrong with your technique, so we're gonna focus in on specifically those 3 things to build you up. The first thing we're gonna talk about is preload. Preload in my mind is like pulling back the slingshot before you let go. There are 2 different elements that go into preload. What's happening with your cranks, what's happening with your body. I try to do both of these together in one fluid movement where I'm rotating my cranks backward, and as I'm rotating backward, I'm going backward on the bike and dropping down low so that my weight is behind the rear hub. Now you can do this just rolling along, come to a slow stop and rotate back and sink down and then continue on. Or you could put your front wheel into something to track stand and balance against it and just work on getting your body down and back while your cranks rotate back. No side hop needed, no pedal kick needed, no nothing. Just work on getting this first motion in place where your cranks rotate back and your body rotates back. Do those 2 things together and that's gonna help you a ton when it comes to the preload. If you watch some of the best pro riders preload when it comes to side hops, they go so low on the back wheel and they use all of that explosive motion on the way back up. So think about this idea of pulling back the slingshot. It's setting your cranks and setting your body in place. One thing we should talk about right here is what you're doing with your brakes. Now, normally what I do is as I'm sinking into my preload, as I'm pulling that slingshot back, I'm grabbing the brakes so that the bike stays put where I am at that very split second. The next thing we're gonna transition into is that big pop out of there. And that's when we release the slingshot. So what you're gonna do right then is let go of the brakes. You're going to pull the handlebars up as you kick the pedals, and you're gonna try jumping straight up. Don't worry about going sideways. Don't worry about going forward. Just jump straight up and see what happens. If nothing happened just now, it means one of two things. Number one, you forgot to let go of your back brake. Number two, you're too far forward on the bike and you need to get into the back seat before you let that slingshot go. You need to give the bike as much power as possible. And if you're sitting on top of the center of balance of the bike or even in front of it, the bike's not going to get the power. It's not going to move. So make sure you get as far back on the bike, sit in the back seat and let the bike do its job. Now, if you did it right, it means that your front wheel probably came up and you hopped in the air a fair bit. And that's what takes us to the next thing we're going to talk about, which is flattening out. Flattening out is all about leveling this bike out so that the back wheel comes up even with the front tire. I should tell you at the beginning that this is something I still struggle with, but it's the thing that will help you get the most height when it comes to side hops. So as your front wheel comes to the highest point, what you're going to do is rotate your wrists and push the bike out in front of you. You're going to bend your knees, which is going to pull the bike up. And as you push that front wheel in front of you, instead of pushing it up, that's what's going to snap the bike level. And that's going to give you a ton of height with your side hops. Again, we're just working on jumping straight up and flattening out. And this is the thing that needs the most reps because you're going to be working on your coordination between the pedal kick, between where your body position is, between flattening out. And those three things, that's really what's going to get you getting that side hop movement just right. Again, we're only focused on going up. We're only focused on the hop of the side hop. And that's really important to just put reps in. This took a long time for me to really get going, but all that flat ground practice ended up paying off. I honestly can't overemphasize how important those two elements are to the side hop movement. Notice we haven't even gone sideways yet because it's not about that. It's about going up more than it is going over. And you need to be able to be confident and consistent jumping up off the ground before we start working on this next part. But if you can go up and off the ground consistently, now it's time to start working on going sideways. So what is it that makes the bike go sideways? There's a reason why I've been hammering on this idea of going up instead of worrying about going over. And the reason is because it's a super slight movement that makes the bike go over. It's just that people mix up everything and think, well, I can't go sideways, so I can't side hop. It's not really about that. If you think about the best case scenario side hop, you would go 3 or 4 feet up in the air, but you'd only go over maybe a foot and a half. So what should we really be focused on developing? Not so much going over, it's really about going up. And the movement that you're going to make to go over is as simple as this. You pull the bike away from the obstacle and then you center it. And this one movement right here, as you're putting power to the bike, is usually enough to get you the distance you need to go over, and all your power goes into going up. Most people will mess up a side hop because they're trying so hard to pull the bike over, and it's not about that. It's about pushing the bike up and letting this little lean right here do the work for you. So let's talk about the lean and how we get the job done. Now, I'm lined up parallel to an obstacle that I'm going to jump onto. I'm jumping toward my back foot. And as I drop down into that preload position with my cranks and my body in the back of the bike, I'm also going to point my front wheel away from the obstacle that I'm jumping on. Do you see how much the frame moves just over here when I do that front wheel twist? The whole bike leans to the side. And as I push down on the pedals, as I do my letting go of the slingshot movement of kicking the pedals, pulling up on the handlebars, I pull the bike to the center. This movement from here to here is what makes the side hop go sideways. So do you see why we worked so hard on jumping up and we didn't spend a lot of time on going sideways with the whole thing? It's because the sideways part is pretty mellow. All the effort goes into going up, and that's exactly why we structured today's tutorial about jumping up into the air and not jumping way over in one direction. Because you only need a slight movement to get it going in that direction. Once you have the confidence to jump straight up in the air, everything else becomes easy. The most important thing about locking in side hop technique is repetition. There's a big reason why we focused really hard on those first two things before we even added in the sideways movement. We jumped into space so many times, just getting that good confident feeling, that consistency, that muscle memory. That's really important because adding in an obstacle or a feature can be kind of scary, and you need to have the confidence to know that everything's going to work perfectly, so then you can progress on top of that. So continue to jump into space as much as you possibly can, because that's actually going to help you lock in your muscle memory and make this whole process easier. Again, remember, it's about going up, it's not about going over. So building on that idea of repetition, one other thing that I do, I've got a Sidehop bar in this warehouse. And this is actually just a limbo bar that I bought off of Amazon. It's got little height markers here, and it's got this kind of breakaway thing that the PVC pipe that I got sits on top of. And I use this quite a bit. If you've ever watched a live stream in here, you know I use this thing a lot. But this is helping me with repetition. It's also helping me build confidence because I know I can jump a certain height over a bar. I can probably jump that up onto something or pretty darn close. So if you really want to work on your side hops, you really want to get those reps up, you want to start working on height, highly recommend getting something just like this. You could make one of these by yourself, but the Amazon version was like 20 bucks. Why not? Today's video was really about refining your side hop technique. So if you're struggling with even the basics of doing side hops, you might want to go check out the original side hop tutorial video. Between that video and then watching this video, we should be able to get you all the way there. So if you're having a hard time even getting through the stuff I'm talking about here, maybe go check that one out, have a look, and then come back. Either way, with that video and this video combined, it shouldn't be long before you're on your way to knocking down some legendary side hops.